We'll call the Blue Earth County Board of Commissioners meeting for March 22nd, 2016 to order. Please everybody join me with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty, first order of business, the agenda review.
Mr. Chair, there are no changes to the agenda today.
Move to approve.
Got a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Commissioner reports on committees. Will, you want to start this morning?
Yes, I do.
We are in a time frame, just to let you know, so we are going to be
Okay.
starting our business at 9:15, so if we don't get through all the reports, we'll just continue those at the end of the meeting.
All right.
Okay, on March 4th, I attended the JD 116 inventory meeting in Truman. This is a judicial ditch that we share with Martin County, and we had a good meeting down there, and INS put together a good report. On the 7th, I attended Crystal Seasons, did a briefing for the folks that live there at Crystal Seasons in Lake Crystal. On the 10th, I was up at the AMC legislative conference with everybody else. I started with the policy committee meeting in the morning. After that, I met with some legislators regarding the funding for the $20 million request for courtroom security. I'm pleased to report that the governor has included that in his supplemental budget. After that, I had the AMC directors meeting. I came back to Mankato that evening for the level 3 sex offender meeting held at Benko. We had a good meeting there, lots of public input on that, and I was very pleased to see the community come out and voice their opinions on that. On the 14th, I went to the Brown County Evaluation Center Board of Directors meeting. We put together our plans for the coming year. They're in good, solid financial condition, and looks like we'll proceed another good year with those folks. The 15th, of course, we had the work session where they rolled out the 5-year plan for roadwork projects. It was very interesting, very pleased with what I saw on that. And then after that meeting, Vance and I had the community farm meeting to put together our plans for this growing season. Then on the 16th, I attended the planning and zoning workshop upstairs. Very good information came out of that. And yesterday I had some meetings with constituents, so that brings me up to today.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Mark?
March 4th, I had Gaburba, Greater Blue Earth River Basin group, and then on, we had the Saturday, March 6th, did have the MVAC soup fundraiser.
Forgot about that.
And then Blue Earth County Historical Society had their annual meeting on the Sunday, next Sunday, following Sunday, and then and of course we have the Surrounded by History will be coming up, fundraiser will be coming on April 29th. March 9th, I did have RETA, the Regional Economic Development Association we belong to, part of the GMG. That was on March 4th. And March 10th, 11th, as Will said, was legislative conference. Yeah, some of us had policy committees, so I had my general government. March 15th was our work session, and then I was gone for a few days down south.
Nice. Thank you, Commissioner. Vance?
All right, got kind of a long one.
That's all right.
I'll try to shorten
we
it
had
up.
3 weeks, so we're...
Well, right after our last board meeting, I went to the GMG Business After Hours, is at the Wall Zone. March 2nd, we had a department head meeting. On March 3rd, I attended 2 different meetings for TDS. I had a catalog meeting and then a personnel team meeting. On March 4th, I attended the AMC Transportation Teleconference. We've been doing this every 2 weeks for the last month now, so trying to get our transportation funding in line, and how does AMC handle it. March 5th was the soup dinner for MVAC. On March 8th, I drove up to St. Paul for the transportation conference, which was that evening, and then again on March 9th. The transportation conference was again pretty interesting. We had the talks from both the House and the Senate, so we had kind of a partisan split, and I think we heard that all of that during the AMC ledge. We heard the same thing. Then March 10th and March 11th was the AMC ledge. I'm on the Transportation Steering Committee, and was kind of a lively debate there and how we go about getting transportation funding. On March 15th, we had a board work session, and then again, Will and I had the community farm meeting. On March 16th was Transportation Day at the Capitol. Myself and Al and Ryan went up to St. Paul and talked to Senators Rosen and Senator Sharon, legislators Gunther, Cornish, Johnson, and Considine, and spoke to them. So we had kind of a full day. Didn't get to much of the meetings, but sure talked to a lot of legislators.
Sure.
On March 17th, I had a Transportation Alliance Board meeting, and then that evening I attended the Maypole meeting, and I was just impressed by how well Mark does and how well he's liked at that meeting. Maybe they just
They
didn't
were
want
glad
me
it was
there. I'm
gone.
not
He's
sure.
the chair, isn't he?
He is the chair.
How'd that happen, Mark? I wanna know.
On March 18th, we had an All Seasons Arena Board meeting, and I had another AMC transportation teleconference, and that afternoon we had a roundtable transportation discussion with MnDOT, MnDOT Commissioner Zally and Lieutenant Governor Smith were both there. Another lively conversation. I think it hit the paper and the news that night. So, yesterday I had a NACO airport subcommittee call in. We have a FAA reauthorization coming up, and there are three main subjects that are being talked about, which first is the unmanned aircraft systems, our drones, and how they affect the airports in different areas. Air traffic control and trying to make them a private air, and how will that affect local government and airports such as ours. And then passenger facility charges, and they different airports want to raise charges to help pay for different expansions. And this morning I had my airport commission at 7 this morning. So that was my 3 weeks.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Drew?
Sure. Let's see, let me look at the clock here.
You got 7 minutes.
Okay, well, that's
If
more
you
than
wanna cut me out.
I can do it in, no, I can do it in, okay. So we had, March 1st was the last time we had our board meeting, so 3 weeks ago. New employee meeting we had that morning. I just think that's a wonderful thing that's been incorporated, to have us be introduced to all of the new employees in the last quarter maybe that's been hired, and they get to meet us and we get to meet them. We had our board meeting, and then March 2nd on Wednesday, I attended the Vine board meeting, my first. I was just recently asked and approved to be on the board there, and so for the first time, and so I'm serving now on the Vine board, which is in the building right across the parking lot. Then Thursday, the 3rd, we had a NACO health steering call in, and Mary Ann Borgeson, from Douglas County in Nebraska, she's our chair, and mainly it was recapping a lot of the things that happened and some of the resolutions that were passed at our legislative conference out in Washington DC. And so we have those quite often. And Thursday, then that day later on, I went up for what we call the Safe Roads meeting. That's our county with Blue Earth County and Nicollet County, where we work on efforts for TZD, towards zero death. Then immediately after that, we have a 2-hour meeting with the South Central TZD, with all the local enforcement officers and education, community health. We talk about issues dealing with road safety and how to improve that whole number of people who get injured in road accidents. Then Monday, let's see here, that evening, or excuse me, yeah, on, I don't have the date written down here, must be the 7th, 6th or 7th, yeah. I had a meeting with Bob Meyer, which we talked about a lot of issues, and also then that evening I went to what they call a PUC meeting. It was a public hearing, Public Utilities Commission. I don't know if people are aware of this, but they're planning on doubling the size of our gas-fired electric production out here on 3rd Avenue. So Mankato Energy LLC, I believe it's called, and they sell to Xcel Energy. And so people were allowed to get up and ask questions, and Commissioner Brunder was there, and myself, and probably about 15 other people. And I was a little shocked when I found out I was the only one on the list to say something, but
Most of them were staff, I think.
I think a lot of them were staff. Then that was at the Country Inn and Suites. Trying to see here. Meeting with Al Forsberg and our new park supervisor on the 9th, Josh Downey.
Mhm.
And I've never really conversed with him, and he seems like a very well-versed person. I'm happy to have met him and talked a little bit about some of the park issues. I serve on the County Parks Board. Thursday and Friday, of course, I went out to St. Paul with everybody else on the 10th and the 11th. I serve on the Environment and Natural Resources Policy Committee there. We reviewed some of the new changes that are being proposed regarding the government's buffers initiative. One of them, of course, is that private ditches will be removed from that expectation. The other thing is that they're kind of focused on the SWCDs as being one of the ones to identify and almost be a part of telling them who needs to be enforced upon and that sort of thing. And one of the proposals will be to try to remove that or change that, because the SWCDs have had a long-standing positive relationship with our ag community, and that could impede some of their future work, and so maybe we're going to look at different ways of handling that. Work session on the 15th, Tuesday, and there we identified quite a few expensive items. One of them being our parking ramp that has a life of about 4 more years, and it could cost about $10 million to replace it. And then if we decide to move forward with any additions, that could be maybe, who knows, another $10 million. We didn't really discuss that at the work session, but I started thinking about all these things.
Mhm.
County Road 12 extension, it's going to be at least $8-9 million for us to be involved in. So in the next few years, other than all the bridges and roads and everything else, we're talking a lot of millions of dollars that we have to plan for, and that Bob has to plan for. And then I went to business before hours instead of after hours, down at the Friesen's Bakery on the 16th, 17th Middle Minnesota meeting over in St. Peter. That's a Middle Minnesota watershed. There's no formalized group for that. That's the water that flows into the river between Nicollet County, Blue Earth County, Brown County, and the Seward County. A lot of talking going on there. We had at least 20 people attend that meeting from Bowser, DNR, all the counties, trying to decide if we should move forward with any kind of a formalized plan. And State Health Services, I'm on that now. Commissioner People served on that for quite a while. It's a State Community Health Services Advisory Committee. And I got to meet and speak with our Commissioner for the Department of Health, Dr. Erlinger, and a very knowledgeable man.
You gotta wear a bow tie. He wears bow ties.
Yeah, very interesting guy. But it's a a big deal up in St. Paul. I'll tell you, there was about 80 people there. A lot of representation throughout the state. One of the things they're focusing on coming up to is going to be water resources, how much water we have, treatment of our water, what systems we have in place to ensure that we have safe water. I also attended, let's see here. I drove out and looked around the land for one of the proposed operations out in the country south of town. I also attended the Monday meeting with a group of ladies, women here in town that are formulating a group called Mankato Zero Waste. Former Commissioner Katie Wortel, Betty Winkworth, and Jane Dow I met with them, and it sounds like a good thing. They need a letter of support from the board, so we'll talk about that more later, but they need a letter of support for a grant, and they're working with the city of Mankato, who's going to help with some matching funds. And they just need some letters of support, and it's about having to do with composting from residents, and they can take it to a couple sites in town and drop off their compost, and not grass clippings, but mostly food composting. So, and Lincoln Park Neighborhood Association last night. We talked about neighborhood issues, which are similar to all of our communities. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah.
We are at 9:15,
Sorry.
that's fine, Drew. I've got a actually lengthy report also, because it's been 3 weeks since the last report, so
Yeah.
I'll do mine later, that's fine.
Okay.
So at this point, we are going to go to item number 5 on our agenda.
Mr.
Bob?
Chair and Commissioners, item number 7 in your packet is some information on a community solar garden subscription agreement. We do have a representative from Sun Edison here with us this morning, so I'll maybe ask Christina to join us at the table if she's willing.
Morning,
And,
Christina.
I'll maybe give some introductory comments, and she can
You can come join us
Come
up here,
on.
Christina.
She can fill you
yeah.
in on the status of the solar gardens that Sun Edison is working on. But we have been talking with Sun Edison for a number of months about the potential of having the county join a subscription agreement with them for a community solar garden. The way the solar garden agreement is structured, we would get bill credits against our Xcel Energy bills for the 3 downtown county buildings. So the historic courthouse, the government center, and the library. Those bill credits would reduce our Xcel Energy bills for a 25-year period. So it is a long-term subscription agreement that we're recommending the county enter into. The projected savings over that 25 years is projected at $1.2 million. Starts out relatively modest, but increases over time as we presume in those projections that energy costs will continue to rise and those bill credit fees will remain constant. And so as staff have reviewed it, we've utilized the resources of the county attorney as well to review the subscription agreement, and we're at a point now where we're bringing it forward for the county board's consideration. And so maybe Christina could tell the board a little bit about the status of their project and the construction that they're working towards.
Absolutely. Thank you all for having me this morning. Great to see all of you again.
Yep, welcome.
Very excited to be here and to have worked with Bob on this exciting opportunity to truly position Blue Earth County as a leader of sustainability in the upper Midwest. So it's been wonderful working with you for the past several months to evaluate the offering and to work through the subscription agreement to create the most beneficial offering for the county. What's particularly exciting about Sun Edison's position in Blue Earth County, we have 2 gardens located in Blue Earth County that we're currently developing, as well as one in Nicollet County. And it was wonderful to hear a little bit earlier today in the county board meeting, the partnerships that you already have with Nicollet County. So great to further foster those relationships. But these are going to be among the first operational gardens in the state of Minnesota. So we plan to construct through the summer and to become operational later this year. And that'll mean that Blue Earth County will be eligible to receive the utility bill credits, to be among the first participants in the state to be able to monetize and realize the benefits of that program through our advanced interconnection position with Xcel Energy and through securing the required land permits as well in the area. So very excited to start construction later this year and to bring these gardens online and to really position Blue Earth County as a leader of sustainability.
And it-
Thank you.
They're moving forward, aren't they? I mean, you've got approved now and everything, like you said, and
Yes, it's
It's-
a matter of construction at this point.
It's been a long process. Excel's process has been quite involved, as I understand it, and so I believe Sun Edison is kind of at the head of the pack, so to speak, in terms of that approval process.
And Christina was at one of our workshops. We talked about this at length, so that was, appreciate you coming for that workshop and filling us in on that, so.
Absolutely.
well, and, you know, we all agreed, I think, there, that whatever we can do that looks healthy for the community to save on our electric costs, because they are quite great. And I think we all agreed that that was something worth looking at, so thank you for bringing that to us, too.
I would move to approve.
Okay, I got a first and a second. Any other discussion or questions, comments?
Not
Seeing and
this
hearing
point.
none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Christina, I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we got Patty on at 9:25, so I think I'll just take a few minutes and do my report after the several items that most of us were at were the after hours with Greater Mankato Growth, the soup supper for MVAC, which was reported last night, over $40,000 they raised.
Wow.
So that'll go to the transportation system for MVAC, so thank you for everybody from the board that shared the table with the Blue Earth County Commissioners.
We got several items on the silent auction, too.
Yes, we did, yeah, so.
I did, too.
So it was a good turnout. They were happy to see us there, and they certainly enjoy our support. Then we had a couple inventories of some ditches, County Ditch 5 and County Ditch 86. It was that grant that we got from the state to just do some inventories of some older ditches, and so we had 2 meetings on both of those. And County Ditch 5, we are going to move forward with a petition for redetermination of benefits, and then County Ditch 86, I didn't get a whole lot of feedback, but they both need some repairs, so we'll be moving through that. Planning and Zoning Board I was at, we have one item or several items in front of us today, and we'll see all those in a few minutes. Ledge Conference was mentioned already. Went to several of the breakout sessions. I thought they had a good turnout. MRCI, first of the month, everything's moving along fairly well there. The candy business is picking up again, and we're just doing some restructuring. We've got some retirements of some people that are moving on, so we're getting some new staff in place. I was also at the public hearing for the expansion of the power plant with Drew. I was up at MICA, where things are going well up there. A lot of things getting geared up for the session, and got full reports from each of the staff. Work session was already mentioned. The planning and zoning work session was mentioned. Extension, Will and I were at Extension the other night. That that group is doing well. We had a good report from all the organizations, and they're already getting geared up for 4-H stuff from the fair this summer. It's that time of the year already again. So they got a couple new things coming online that were pretty exciting for getting people signed up for the fair and the 4-H program. So that'll see how that works out. And last night I had South Central Workforce and MVAC, and I also stopped in upstairs at the Master Gardeners. Had a meeting here yesterday, and they're kind of part of our extension group, so I stopped in and said hi to the group of people up there. And they had a speaker that was very interesting on plant mutation, so I sat and listened to that before I had to go to my other meeting. So that brings me up to 9:24, so.
Mr. Chair, would you like to do a couple of administrative items?
Sure.
First item is the county board minutes for March 1st of this year.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next are the bills for the 3 weeks indicated in your packet.
So moved. Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Let's go to EDA with Patty Ziegler. Morning, Patty.
Morning, Patty.
Morning, Patty.
How are all of you?
Good.
Good.
Mr. Chair, would you like to recess the county
Yeah.
board meeting?
That's right.
Move to recess.
Got a
Second.
first to recess,
Second.
second? Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll open up our EDA meeting. Agenda review.
Mr. Chair, there are no changes to the agenda today.
I move the
Okay.
review, or the agenda.
Got a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Minutes.
I'll move the minutes.
Second.
Got a first and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Roof replacement contract.
Yes, we would like to replace 10 roofs in Madison and Eagle Lake. We received 8 bids, and Bauer Roofing out of Eagle Lake appears to be the low bidder. So we would like to award the bid to them for $51,854.14.
There's quite a difference, wasn't there?
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, more
Quite
than
large.
double
Yeah.
that.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a first and a second. Discussion? Questions, comments?
Looks like they need it.
They're all in Eagle Lake and Madison Lake? All of them?
Yeah, we
Okay.
did Mapleton already,
Okay.
and we did Lake Crystal already, so we're moving around the county.
So this will be all of our units in those two communities?
No,
No.
it's just 10 units
10,
total.
okay.
It's the worst ones,
Okay.
so
Oh,
we
so-
prioritize.
So we'll have to, yeah, so prioritize, so next time we'll have to, maybe next year we'll have to. or
Right,
do
it's
some
on
more.
it's in the 5-year plan
Yeah.
and the annual plan, so.
Okay. Any other questions for Patty?
Well, I looked at the type of shingles that are going on, I'm familiar with a little bit, and 110 miles an hour rating and everything, and it sounds like that's what most people would put on, so
Yep,
sounds good.
All right.
okay.
I got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Okay.
Any other business for the EDA at this point?
I'm just trying to think of any updates we might have. The Mankato EDA wrote a grant and got funded to do a homeownership capacity program for emerging market families. So Blue Earth County voucher holders and public housing tenants are invited to participate in that. So we've been working with MVAC and Lutheran Social Services to do financial literacy training and a little home maintenance stuff. It's real similar to our old First Home program that we taught before the recession. So we're doing that again. We have 6 people that are ready to purchase their homes. Their
Wow.
credit scores are up. And so we're coaching them and working with them now. So
Very
that's the other
cool.
thing that's going
That's a
on.
good program.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
use some of the dollars they would normally get for rent at an affordable apartment somewhere, and they can use it towards purchasing a home, and I mean, I think it's just a good way of doing this.
We did have, this past year, our first homeowner pay off their house.
Very
It's like,
cool.
Well, that's
woo!
something.
So,
Yeah.
that
Like
was
it.
great. But, that's
All right.
pretty much.
Any other questions for Patty? Okay. Thank you,
No.
Patty, for that
Thanks,
report.
Patty.
Move to adjourn.
Have a second to adjourn?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, we'll go back and resume our regular board meeting. And I got 9:28. Bob, you want to try to do one more human resources? or-
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 3 in your packet is the Human Resources agenda. We do have one action item this morning, the authorization to initiate recruitment for a design engineer in the Public Works Department. This is a new position being recommended by the Public Works Department to assist in some of the design work required to partially implement the sales tax monies that we'll be receiving in those additional projects, but also some succession planning that needs to occur within that department so that we have trained engineers moving forward. And so we're bringing that here for the board's consideration this morning.
So moved.
Second.
You got a first and a second. Discussion?
That's it.
So when will this get posted, Bob, you think, if we approve this today?
I would guess within the next week at the most.
Okay, today's the
The
22nd.
job description has been prepared, and so it now just needs to work through the system and get the requisition established and the posting out there, but it should move pretty quickly,
So we post for about 2 weeks
typically,
typically, and then,
yeah. So it should be hired and working probably by no later than the end of April, I would suspect.
okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
The informational items then are, we have filled a social worker position, actually a couple of them, so we're getting fully staffed in the Human Services Department. We also filled a position in the Environmental Services Department of a waste and recycling technician, part-time position, and then also filled a position in the County Attorney's Office. An Assistant County Attorney position has been filled. So I believe that's all with that.
Okay, any questions on the informational items? Hearing none, we'll move into planning and zoning. George Leary and his team.
Hey, George.
Morning, everyone.
Oh, George.
Ready whenever you are, George. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item is PC 03-16, a request of Randall Cords and Scott and Gretchen Cords for a conditional use permit to construct a new total confinement swine finishing facility capable of housing 3,300 finishing pigs or 1,320 animal units. The property is located in the southwest quarter of Section 16, Decoria Township, and is zoned agricultural. Mr. Meeks presented the staff report. The applicants were present. They advised the commission that farming is their livelihood, and they are proposing to add livestock to diversify their operation. They added that they chose this location because it is close to their home. They stated the manure produced from this facility will be applied by a licensed commercial animal waste technician to approximately 250 acres of land annually, and they have 650 acres of land available. The applicants also stated trees will be planted to the north and south of the proposed structure to disperse the air. An individual expressed her concern with the proposal to the commission. She stated that she represented the interest of 45 residences located in a developed area along County State 8 Highway 15. Her concerns included the following: water usage and aquifer depletion, pollution of waterways, leaching of manure and contaminants and associated health effects, nitrate contamination of wells and associated health effects, air pollution and associated health effects, antibiotic usage and associated health effects, and property value impacts. A second individual spoke on behalf of the residents of Cedar Meadows subdivision located approximately 1.5 miles west of the proposed site. He stated he represented both those for and against the proposal. He also stated that only one letter was received for a parcel that was owned in common with association members. A third individual spoke in favor of the request. He stated his profession is an agronomist and he lives in Cedar Meadows subdivision. He commented on the land application of commercial fertilizers, adding that the land application of manure does require specific setbacks, and opined that from a fertility perspective, the land application of manure is less of an issue. A fourth individual spoke on behalf of his mother, who lives north of the proposal. He acknowledged that the proposal does meet the present criteria, but expressed his concerns with the environmental and human health issues. He concluded his comments by asking the commission to vote no on the proposal. A fifth individual asked if the applicants would be constructing future barns on the site. He also asked who would manage the facility in the future. No response was provided. There was no further public comment. The commission commented on the thoroughness of the report. It was observed that the facility proposal meets all of the ordinance requirements, and the project is an agricultural zone district. The commission asked staff for a number of permitted total confinement facilities in Blue Earth County. Staff indicated that there are likely in excess of 300 total confinement swine operations in the county. The commission asked for clarification on the hearing notice process. Staff indicated that the property owners within 1 mile of the proposal were notified. The commission asked staff about the review process used by the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. Staff advised the commission that the MPCA is processing an NPDES permit application for the site, and the NPDES permit will be in place for 5 years. The coverage of the NPDES permit could continue at the applicant's discretion. Following the discussion, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to forward to the County Board a recommendation of approval of the request as outlined by staff. Since the Planning Commission meeting, several emails and letters from neighboring property owners have been submitted regarding the request. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chris.
The board actions is a resolution.
Thank you, Chris, for that report. At this time, I'm going to open up the public comment portion of our meeting. I'd like everyone to keep their comments to about 3 minutes, and then if we have time, we'll come back around. After you make your comments, I'm going to have the staff try to answer any of the questions that we can at that time, and then we'll move on through the application process. So at this time, I'm going to ask, is the applicant present? I see they are. Do you have any comments at this time? State your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Scott Cords.
Gretchen Cords, 57868 179th Street, Mankato.
Welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner. We're just here to reiterate that we are a small family operation looking to diversify our operation. I guess with the volatility of the cash grain markets, this is going to help us hopefully survive through this.
And then we also just wanted to reiterate the reason for choosing the location of the proposed site. It's as close to our house as we can get it. Number one reason being that we can keep our eye on it, but also just to have some skin in the game to know that we are putting ourselves right there with it in regards to the concerns of any of the neighbors, and then also that it's obviously zoned agricultural, which we all know, and it fits within the requirements. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'd open up to any public who would like to speak. Just come to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Dennis Koopman, 18114 State Highway 22, Mankato. Thank you, Commissioner. I'm almost the closest neighbor to Scott, and I'm completely for this. Who are we to restrict a farmer from wanting to better themselves and provide themselves a little more stability? If we start restricting them now, what's to say we're not going to start restricting me or anybody else from, well, we don't like the color of the shed you're putting out, I want you to change it. If you want to move to the country, there's sacrifices you have to make. I grew up in the country. A lot of these people are moving to the country and they don't like the smell. Well, as part of farming, you don't have a problem. You go to the counter and get a slab of bacon. It's got to come from somewhere. My wife and I, Laura, we're completely in support of this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Anyone else interested in commenting?
Good morning. My name is Alan Kunz. I live at 19140 State Highway 22, which is 2 miles north of this proposed site. I'm right on the southern edge of the urban fringe district that goes around Mankato. And I'm also here, my mother Esther Kunz, who lives at 188556 State Highway 22, which is 1 mile directly north of this. She's lived there for 67 years. We are quite concerned about all of the issues that have come up. I've had the privilege of talking with Mr. Meeks and Mr. Leary and Mr. Brunder last week, and it would appear that according to the ordinances and the things that have been put in place in the permitting process, that this meets criteria. However, we did also talk about the county's formula of using 0.4 per animal unit. 3,300 animals comes up to 1220, I believe, 1320. The MPCA, the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, requires a environmental study to be done on any feedlot operation that's going to be over 1,000 animals. Well, they use a 0.3 factor, which brings the Cords finisher operation to 990. So at that point, you know, the county is aspiring to a higher level, but yet the MPCA is a lower level, but the county is not complying with the lower level. I feel that the environmental assessment report does a good job and gives a second opinion regarding air quality issues, water quality issues, and all the future things that are being discussed and that you've received emails on in the last few days. It also just gives a second outlook, a second opinion, diverts it to a higher authority. And I also know through my research that you as a board have discretion as to whether to require this or not. If you do not require it, I've also researched and know that we can petition the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency to look at it with 100 signatures and so on and so forth, and we're prepared to do that. Now, I have all due respect for the Cordses and their diversification. It's one family, it's one operation. But with the highly populated area that surrounds this, I am asking that you take a look at the impact on many rather than just a few, because there will be impact. There will be impact, and this impact will be long-lasting and probably will be long-lasting after we're all gone and you guys are all gone. So I would ask that you do that and use best practices and best procedures and best management and so on and so forth. The Cordses have 600 plus acres, and there might be a better place for this to be placed if they want to do it. There's many houses and many families in the prevailing wind, downwind from this operation. And while I appreciate their efforts and what they want to do, I believe that it's in the best interest of the residents in Decoria Township who've lived there many, many years that this be denied at this point. And I would ask that you would vote no on this, and that they might look at other options and be good neighbors and good stewards, as we are trying to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you, Al.
Did you want to try to maybe clarify Al's comment about the
PCA.
trigger for the EAW, or we visited with him about it the other day, so maybe just for the audience sake.
Yes, absolutely. With the MPCA regulations, an EAW, an environmental assessment worksheet, is triggered at 1,000 animal units, which is their threshold for what is required to maintain a state permit, whether it be NPDES or an SDS permit. And this site, with it being under the 1,000, does not trigger the mandatory EAW, but due to the size of the construction, it is required to have the state permit. And just to clarify as well, the EAW is reviewed by the Environmental Quality Board as well as the MPCA. So it's a number of state agencies that have interest in the EAWs.
And so this permit will actually be issued by the state for the first 5 years?
Correct. Well, two permits will be issued. There will be a county feedlot permit for this site as well as a state permit for this site.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Any other comments from the floor? Please come forward.
Lori Bangert, 18118 State Highway 22. I live pretty much right where Dennis does, so I would have to say I'm probably the closest, just as much as Dennis is. I live directly north of Scott and Gretchen and where the hog lot's going to be. Originally, I talked to Scott and Gretchen, and I've grown up in the country. I've smelt it all my life, and I don't mind it. It doesn't bother me. And I told them I'm for it. I don't care. And I am not going to turn down agricultural if they want to better their family and the agricultural part of our world. However, since then, I have had a change. I have a 2-year-old. I'm a little bit concerned, not just about the smell. I really could care less. It's more about the air quality. We are outside all of the time. I play with my son outside all of the time. We just built our house there 8 years ago. We built it ourselves with our own hands. I'm very concerned about our property value going down. We have put our entire lives into this house. We chose that location because it's our family's land. I wanted to live near my family. I would hate to see that property be sold because we are forced to leave. We would completely lose out if we had to sell it. as it states that our property value would decrease by 88%, I believe it said. Not only would we completely lose out, but our family farm would now be owned by somebody else. I'm concerned about raising my child there and with having all the different health issues. I would like to stay neutral, but I guess at this point, I'd like to support Gretchen and Scott as well, but I would like you to reconsider this and vote no for the sake of my son. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Bob, do you want to touch on the evaluation piece just a bit?
Well, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, we did have the county assessor do some analysis, and in the last 5 years, there's been over 280 sales in the ag district. In the last 1 year, there's been about 75 sales, and based on the analysis done by the county assessor, the assessed values and the sales value have been relatively close in all instances. So while there can be market conditions that would change individual properties, overall we're not able to decipher from our sales data in the assessor's office that there is a market impact for those properties that are close to a feedlot.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Anyone else wishing to comment on PC 03-16 Accords hog operation? Anyone else wishing to comment on PC 03-16? Okay, last call for public comment on PC 03-16 for the Accords. Seeing no more public comment, I'm going to direct it back to the county board. But before I close the public hearing, does any one of the board members have a question or a comment they would like to hear from one of the people that testified?
I guess I have a comment. I'd like to thank everyone that emailed and sent letters with your concerns about this hog lot. I live in the country, lived in the country all my life. I live on the family farm that I grew up on, and I have 2,400 hogs at the end of my driveway. They're not my hogs, they're neighbors' hogs, and I rarely smell them. I spoke with my neighbor, and he lives right in amongst the barns. He has 3 barns, lives right in amongst them. He said he's kept track, and last year he had 12 days that he considered that he had offensive odors on his building site. From my standpoint, I didn't notice them, and I'm about a quarter of a mile away from 1,200 animal units, and his other barn is farther from me. So it's a scary thing to have hog barns built next to you, but I just want to let you know that my experience has been positive. I don't like hog manure any better than anybody else, and I rarely notice my neighbor's hog barn. So.
Okay. At this time, I'm going to just offer one more time for the applicant to respond to anything, or okay. Thank you. At this point, I'm going to close the public comment portion of the hearing and bring it back to the Blue Earth County Board of Commissioners. And after we've discussed this item, I'm going to do a roll call vote on this, starting with Commissioner Campbell, and I'll be the last vote. So a little different procedure, but I think it's appropriate for this situation. So just wanted to let the board know that that's how we're going to handle this. So I'll open it up for discussion at the county board level. Drew.
Okay. Well, I know this is...
You want to open up a discussion? You want to vote? You want to take a motion first?
Is there some questions? You got some general questions before we make a motion?
I do have a question.
Okay, let's to staff.
Yeah, to staff.
Thank you.
I just, you know, I want to commend you for responding to a lot of the concerns, because I think that overall the commission is concerned, and our planning and zoning staff, about orderly development within the county, and that trying to look at all the different angles. I usually write in, and as George knows, and ask about 3 or 4 or 5 questions for a lot of the different requests that come forward. And in this case, you know, I got probably 16, 17 letters and a few phone calls, regarding this one, which is the most I've ever gotten, but anyway, on any kind of a project, I think, in the county in the last 6 years. The one that I was concerned about, there's one I'm concerned about, I didn't see much written about it, was at the commission, the fact that they talked about there's this large group of homes that are fairly close. I mean, I know it meets setbacks, but was there much discussion on the commission about that issue, about that the county has, provided for development in that area along those bluffs and those trees and kind of just northeast of there?
There was concerns from a resident that indicated she was representing those property owners there. We don't know how she was representing them, but that's what she claimed. But I would say, to answer your question, there was not much discussion by the commission as far as the location of those homes there.
Okay.
They were aware of it. They were aware of the location of those homes.
I would think so, because you had them on the map there. Okay.
Okay, any other general questions for the staff? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion to get the discussion started.
So moved.
Got a first? Do I have a
Second.
second? Got a second? Discussion. Questions, comments? Drew?
It's kind of related along the same lines. So when I looked at a lot of those things, I know you addressed the water conditions, the worries about that. Just in the last few years, I work a lot with the environment, natural resources, and go to a lot of different meetings, and 40 to 50% of all of our waters are impaired right now. One of the issues in the waters, of course, is the nutrients. Some ag runoff is attributable to it. Some is from cities and from other sources. That's the nutrient end of it. The other end of it is there's bacteria, and most of the waters, not most, excuse me, about half, have levels of bacteria at different times of the year that way exceed the expectations of having bacteria, and a lot of that bacteria is identifiable to the use of spreading manure on fields for fertilizer. And it varies because, from different areas to different areas. And that's why we have things like setbacks, trying to reduce, have people not spread early in the spring, and if they do, they got to set back even farther. But I just know that from being involved the last few years, that the efforts that we have are to look at prevention and preventing further or increasing the levels of pollutants in our water. And so part of me questions, adding more facilities and adding more capability for the potential runoff into our streams, lakes, and rivers. So I do question that generally, and in this case also. There's quite a few fields that drain directly into those ravines right along there. They have outlets that I went out and looked at. So the outlets go directly into the fields, or into the little ravines that filter around near these homes, and then down into the river. And so I do question the validity that adding more manure to our fields is going to not have any kind of health risks. I really believe there will be health risks at different times of the year. And if we deny that, we're not looking at the data. Because there is data, if you want to look at it, that says there's elevated levels of bacteria, and most of it's E. coli. Then the other thing is, the county has ordinances in place for orderly development, and I know that it's changed over the years, so that's part of what's going on here, I believe, is that we've allowed for this area to turn into sort of a neighborhood, I think, just north of there, more so than a lot of other areas in our county. We have other neighborhoods, but this particular one just happens to be what somebody might call the prevailing winds go directly to it. And so it's just, a mile or so And all those homes that have been going in there for the last 40 years have been allowed by this county. Probably not by you, George, or by the commission that's even on there right now, some of them maybe, or even anybody here. It just has been occurring because that's how, over time, our ordinances change and they are things taken away and things are added. After reviewing everything, I think you've covered a lot of the ground that needs to be covered. You know what I mean, as far as trying to provide for a healthy view, except for the fact that this orderly development was allowed by the same people, in a sense, same position sitting here, 40, 50 homes over time to be there. And what then goes through my mind is a healthy setback from an animal factory. You know, what is that? And maybe this will turn out just fine if it's approved today, and it won't be as big an issue as we thought it was going to be. I mean, that's what most people would hope, and what the commission probably thought. But I just don't think there was enough discussion, it sounds like to me, of the fact that this orderly development that we've approved that's gone in all along north of there. And I just feel that in this case, there should be more examination to what's healthy. What's a healthy setback from something that's more like a neighborhood of people, almost like it's the edge of town, you know, and I think that setback is different. And so, what's the minimum setback right now, George? Is it from areas like this?
1,000 feet, it would be the minimum setback,
Yeah.
and then depending on the wind direction, 1,500 feet. So this facility has two different setbacks, again based on the predominant wind direction of either a minimum of 1,000 feet or 1,500 feet.
Okay. And so all those minimum requirements are met. We know that. We see that. But I'd just like to encourage the board to consider the fact that our predecessors allowed for also, just like we have all the ag and everything out there, a lot of these homes to be built, maybe even prior to some of the language that we have in there that is kind of a disclaimer. It says if you're going to live in the country, you know, you better put up with dust and smells and put up with all these kind of things. So, you know, people have lived there for many years, and I'm just concerned that we're not also considering that, even though this meets and the Cords are they seem to be very good people and they farm and they do a wonderful job with this hog operation. It's not that issue, it's the fact that we've allowed for, as a county, all of this development to go in north of there. And I just think that weighs heavy. It weighs heavy. It's very close. It's not just one farm here and one little farmstead or some little piece of property someone would put in a hobby farm, or we're talking about 40 to 50 homes within less than, I don't know, 7,000 feet, 6,000 feet. And those winds out there, according to the letters I've been receiving, blow constantly, pretty much out there. It's a windier than we think, probably. So I personally will not support this project. And I just think that it needs to be re-examined. I really do. And I'm sorry to say that to the Cords, because that's nothing personal. But it would be if I was living there, and if there's 40 to 50 homes, that's something that needs to be considered by the county, because they've allowed those homes to develop there. There needs to be a second consideration going forward as to how we provide for orderly development of businesses, which are ag, in the same vicinity. So
I'd like to address your water quality concerns.
I was just going to ask the staff to maybe respond to that too. So
I am very concerned about water quality, and I asked I was fortunate to have Satish Gupta, University Minnesota professor who is very involved in water quality, and for the last year he tested my tile water. and the water coming out of my tile is below state standards.
I
but
believe you.
significantly
Oh,
below,
I believe you, I believe you.
below state standards. So I think we're all very concerned about water quality, and farmers are concerned about it as much as anybody else. But again, my farm, although I don't put hog manure on my farm, it's right across the road from my neighbor who does.
Yeah.
And the water coming out of my tile are below state's MPCA standards. So.
And that's true. I think that there's a lot of fields, probably the majority of them, where it's processed properly and filters through the soil, and it works well. But there's also fields where, because of the soil conditions, that doesn't happen. And I just think that I'm being responsible to what I've been learning the last few years, serving on all these different committees, by saying that I don't believe it's good to add more than what we're already adding. We're the second rated county right now for hog production in the state of Minnesota.
Mhm.
That's a lot of hog feces being spread, and it's a good thing. It helps grow stuff. but I just wonder about the limits, because I don't know how we're going to attain that water quality that we need.
Do you have anything to add to that then, staff, as far as the water quality issue?
I don't believe staff's in a
Okay.
position to answer those questions.
Okay.
I think the standards are in place, and we're just there to present the standards to the planning commission, county board, and not to make judgment on that.
Okay, thank you, George. Other comments, questions from the board?
I got a question. My understanding that the pits are going to be pumped out, and then the manure would be inserted into the ground. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Incorporated.
Okay. What is the setback for that, to have that inserted into the ground from any roadway or even from this housing?
I would address you. We do have included in the packet is the Blue Earth County manure application setbacks. So with immediate incorporation, from a public road ditch is 10 feet from the ditch. Just to add a few, it's 300 feet to a house, 25 feet to a drainage ditch, 25 feet to a tile inlet. And I'm sorry, was there another one that you were looking for?
Just
The setbacks.
Oh, to the well? 200 feet to a well.
Okay. And it's my understanding that the hog operations we have around the county actually sell their manure, and so the land there could be inserted at this time without anything from us right now. Isn't that correct?
That's correct. It's referred to as transfer of manure ownership, and it's surely possible that manure could be sold to other property owners in that area, and provided it meets all the required setbacks, could be applied in that area, yes.
So whether we approve or disapprove this today has nothing to do with the land having manure spread on it in the future, isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so we're not talking about the land itself or the water going through the land, because that could happen no matter what we do today. I mean, they could purchase manure from other farmers and have it spread on this area, isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that has nothing to do with water quality, because it could happen no matter what happens with what we're doing.
I wouldn't speak on the water quality issue, because I don't believe that's staff's position, because as long as it meets the setback requirements, those are the regulations in place. But yes, they could apply the manure from another feedlot operation to those fields in that area.
Okay. What you can comment on is the improvement of feedlots in the time period that you've been employed with Blue Earth County, isn't that correct?
I would say yes, and even before my employment with the county, early on in Blue Earth County's having a feedlot program, the county was awarded or received a reward or an award from the MPCA on the county feedlot program. And the detail that went into it, again, this was before my time with the county, but, so yes, I would say that's correct.
Okay.
I hear what you're saying, Vance. I know what you mean. You know what I mean? I do.
All right.
No, I-
Good. My whole thing, and I'm split on this because I live up on Hilltop in Mankato. I live over by Kennedy Elementary, and on a hot, humid day, I smell the manure. Okay, and I'm on East Main Street. But I grew up on a farm. I grew up on a hog farm, and we spread our manure out on top. Okay, this is like night and day. This is not. We're not talking about a regular manure spreader where you're spreading your manure on top. We're talking about inserting it into the ground, and we're talking that no matter what happens here today, they could buy it from another farm or else take it from another farm and do it anyway, no matter if we approve or disapprove that. Again, I'm split on this. You wonder, okay, do we consider about one person or the multitude of people? Is it healthier? Is it a health issue? Then we should concern about just one farm. Because if there's a health issue, we got to stop it from happening. It doesn't matter if there's one farm within a mile or 500 farms or 500 houses within a mile. We got to concern about the health issue. And that's if we've approved 300 so far in Blue Earth County, approximately.
How many, George, exactly?
I don't know exactly, but approximately 300, I would guess.
We obviously have gone through the health issues already. Again, I'm split on this because I have smelled the manure. And I do understand. But I'm also very concerned about the rights of a family farm being able to be out there and improve themselves. Do we know when the right to farm ordinance was enacted in Blue Earth County? Do you have that?
I don't have it right with me, but it's been sometime since 2000, so within the last 16 years.
Okay. Another question I guess I would have, and probably more for the county attorney, is if we do not pass this, will the courts have a good grounds to sue Blue Earth County on?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Sternberg, if I may, typically I wouldn't comment on potential litigation because that's what lawyers do. Lawyers make arguments to judges all the time. But I will just remind you that this is a system that has been put in place, has been longstanding. It's substantially similar to what's occurred throughout the state. All the time we ask in the justice system for people to make decisions without passion or prejudice, and I think that that's part of your role as well. You have a situation that obviously there's not much middle ground here. People feel strongly on both sides. But it's also important for you to understand from my perspective that you have a system that's been in place. This has gone through, this is something that has been looked at substantially. It's been vetted through not only local agencies but state agencies, and much of the guiding principles, if you will, come from St. Paul. And you are now in the process, and you need to make the decision today to comply with the 60-day rule. Does that hopefully answer your question, Mr. Schoenberg, Commissioner?
Kinda.
Well,
you did a good job being an attorney.
Can I just say one comment, then inject one here, along the way. And I do agree that, I mean, all these things have been covered pretty much here. I mean, you always have a checklist of things in the ordinance. You've got the proposed use conforms to the county land use plan, demonstrated need, proposed to will not degrade the water. Well, there's setbacks, there's things in place to try to help that from happening, even though it can happen depending on soil conditions. The proposal will not adversely increase the quantity of water runoff. We always look at a water plan, right, for building runoff and where their water's gonna go and their, you know, when they decide to build, correct?
Mhm.
And then you look at soil conditions, you look at, it won't create a potential pollution hazard. Well, you try to cover all those grounds. Adequate utilities, road access, drainage. But then you get down to number 10, that the conditional use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted. And I just want to say that wasn't vetted for fully. And that's kind of where I'm sitting, you know, as far as on this whole thing. It's just that one point, which is part of the ordinance, may not have gotten enough attention because everything else seemed to look good and it had pretty good setbacks and everything. Given the fact that there's so many homes, you know what I mean, really near this area. And this potentially, this can affect what it says. Other property for the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for purposes already permitted. Those homes were all permitted to be there regardless of what ordinances were in place then. And that's why I believe this is a little different than, you know what I mean, than a lot of the other ones we've approved in the past. So I'd just like to ask the board to consider that one, number 10. That is something that's a checklist that they go through, and that I feel that wasn't fully vetted at the time. And I know according to minimum standards, we didn't have to do a wind study. We did that one model that the university uses, I guess, to look at how things go. But
Chris ran that model, yes.
yeah.
Any other comments, questions?
I would let other commissioners talk.
Anyone else have any other
Haven't
comments
made my
at this point?
decision.
I've been rather, this is, of course, that's what the board decides, deals with these kind of issues, and this is one that is tough for us to handle. I would just say that it's kind of along with what the county attorney mentioned. I mean, these things become, as we move along, you've got the PCA involved besides our staff, you got state agencies involved, and it's kind of an evolutionary thing, and so things change. Of course, we today have to act on the information we have today, and the laws we have, the regulations we have today. So I find it tough, but I know what I think what we have to do, and I plan to do that. But it's and I think it's been good that it's been vetted this well, and a discussion. And maybe from this, I mean, like I said, the future, it can change, and how things come about, because we advance, so who knows? I mean, but I can't, we have to deal with what we're dealing with today.
Today is the future, Mark.
Well,
today is the future.
No, I'm saying we have to deal with what we have today.
Number 10, so you wrestled with number 10 and you're okay with it?
Well, yeah, not just, I've looked through it all, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Any other comments? I just have to echo what Mark said. This is a very difficult decision for me personally. When you have to make a decision that you go to church with people that live in this area that you get letters from, you see these people every day, you have colleagues that you have to make a decision on, and this is a very difficult decision. But if there's no other comments, I'm going to call for the roll call, and we'll see what the vote brings.
Commissioner Campbell?
No, I don't vote for approval of this conditional use permit.
Commissioner Purvis?
Aye.
Commissioner People?
Aye.
Commissioner Stuenberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Brunder?
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you everyone for your comments. We do appreciate it. All your letters of support and not support. Congratulations, Cords. I hope you do your best, and thank you everybody for your time. Appreciate it. We'll just take 1 or 2 minutes, let the room clear, then we'll get on with our meeting. You don't go away. You sit down. We're working yet. We're just gonna let the room clear and then we're going back to work. I ain't letting this board get away on me. Ain't no way that's gonna happen.
Not gonna take a break.
No.
I thought we were taking a break.
We'll take one after we're done with P and Z.
Okay. All right, holy mackerel. It's a quarter after, boss.
I know.
You can hold it. I can.
You remember that next year, your chair.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna make him stay even longer.
All right, let's move on then. We got several other items to deal with here, so I believe we got a 100,000 lane hand operation coming up next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. PC 05-16, a request by Mark's Farm Incorporated for a conditional use permit to construct a new total confinement poultry barn capable of housing 100,000 layer hens or 1,000 animal units. The proposal will also include the construction of a structure to hold the manure generated from the facility. This is an addition to an existing poultry operation. The property is located in the southwest quarter of the southeast quarter of Section 15, Mapleton Township. Mr. Meeks presented the staff report. The applicant was present and had no comment. There was no public comment. The Planning Commission recalled the variance approved earlier for this site and agreed the proposal meets the criteria of the ordinance. Following the discussion, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to forward to the County Board a recommendation of approval of the request outlined by staff, and the board action is a resolution.
Thank you, Chris. At this time, I would like to open up public comment for PC 0516 from Mark's Farms Incorporated. If you would please come to the podium, state your name and address. Please keep your comments to about 3 minutes, and we'll try to answer any questions you have. Anyone interested in commenting on PC 0516? Last call for anyone liking to comment on PC 0516 from Mark's Farm Incorporated. Seeing and hearing no public comment, I'll bring it back to the county board.
Move to approve.
I got a motion to approve.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Questions? Drew.
I was just curious. So this owner then probably has somebody operating the, it looks like it's a different owner.
Nope, got the owner in the office, but we'll see if the staff can answer.
It says owner over here, it has a different name. Isn't it, or not?
Owner, I'm not sure where you're...
Oh, it's a trust.
We'll let Chris try to answer. Just hold on just one sec. We'll let Chris try to answer.
So on the report, as you see, the property is owned by Jeannie H. Yeager Trust, and that is because Mark's Farms has not purchased the land that this would be, the barn would be constructed on, but we do have a purchase agreement, so upon the approval, he would purchase the land, and that would be done before the construction of the barn, before a construction permit is issued.
Okay. It's going to be on the same site as the home and things over there then, or separately?
Correct. It'll be directly adjacent to an existing operation owned by Mark's Farms.
Okay. And you've done all the work, the due diligence then to make sure that their septic systems are going to be approved or up to snuff?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
And then it looks like, I just wanted to mention, it looks like the trust agreement is somebody at Old Main Village, right across the street. So, but yeah, it sounds good. Thank you.
Any other questions?
How many farm operations with chickens do we have around? I'm just kind of curious. Or
Significantly fewer. This would be I think there's maybe 2 chicken operations and only a few major turkey operations in the county.
Yeah, I didn't think we had many, so I was curious.
Okay. Any other questions?
How
All
many-
in favor, say aye. Oop, I'm sorry, Commissioner.
No, I was going to ask how many houses or other farm sites are within the mile of this place.
Within a mile, I don't necessarily have that information
Yeah, it
directly
doesn't go out that
offhand.
far.
I can tell you there are 4 within a half mile.
Okay. Okay. Understanding growing up on a farm, poultry certainly has the same amount of smell that hogs do. So I'm, being that what we just passed here previous to this, and this certainly, has a lot to do with our ordinance and what we do and yourselves and how well you do your job. So it's interesting that we receive no public comment here, because the health issues certainly would be the same, and the enjoyment issues would be the same here as they were with the hog confinement.
It's perspective.
That's perspective. I beg to differ with you, though.
Okay, we'll leave it at that.
Yep.
That's perspective, so let's
Because
move on.
There's no homes around there other than maybe 10.
They're still very important people in those homes, though, so
They're all
we'll
firemen,
move on.
maybe, too.
Well, they're still important
So does that
people.
make the difference?
Yeah,
Okay, we'll move on. Any other questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
PC 06-16 is a request from the Reinertz family estate for review and approval of a conditional use permit to allow a bonus lot dwelling. The property is zoned agricultural, and a portion of the property is located within the shoreland overlay district of the Morgan Creek tributary stream. The property is located in the northwest quarter of the northeast quarter of Section 29, Cambria Township. Mr. Stubbs presented the staff report. The applicants were present and had no comment. There was no public comment. The Planning Commission recalled the code review from 2012 and unanimous decision to keep the bonus lot provision. They found that bonus lot applications have not been common and they have proven beneficial. Following the discussion, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to forward to the County Board a recommendation of approval of the request as outlined by staff, and the board action is the resolution.
Alrighty. Is the applicant present?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any comments at this point? Okay, thank you. Anyone from the public would like to comment on PC 0616? Anyone wishing to comment? On PC 0616, the Reinertz family estate. Last call for anyone wishing to comment on PC 0616. Seeing no public comment, I'll close the public comment portion of the hearing and bring it back to the county board.
Move approval.
Got a first and a second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
PC 07-16 is a request from Scott and Corley Borgmeyer. It is a request for review and approval of the preliminary plat of Borgmeyer's Jamestown subdivision. A subdivision plat consisting of one lot and one outlot. The property is zoned agricultural and is located in the south half of the northwest quarter and the south half of the northeast quarter of the northwest quarter, both located in Section 22 of Jamestown Township. Mr. Leary presented the staff report. The applicant was present and had no comment. There was no public comment. There was little discussion by the Planning Commission. Following the discussion, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to forward a recommendation of approval to the County Board of the request as outlined by staff, and the board action is a resolution.
Okay, thank you, George. I heard section 22. Did you say it says 32 in here?
Sorry, Section 32.
Okay, thank you. Just for
Jamestown
clarification. Anyone from the audience wishing to comment on PC 0716? No. 08.
07.
0716. Okay. Anyone wishing to comment? Anyone wishing to comment on 0716? Last call for anyone wishing to comment on PC 0716. Seeing no public comment, I'll bring back the county board.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a first and a second. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. PC 08-16 is a request by Jason and Heather Quint to vacate an unoccupied utility easement lying on parts of lots 18 and 19 of Block 1 of the Deer Meadows subdivision. The parcels are located in part of the southwest quarter of the northwest quarter of Section 20, Decoria Township. The properties are zoned conservation, and Lot 18 includes a small area within the shoreland overlay district of the Big Cog River. Mr. Stubbs presented the staff report. The applicants were present and had no comment. There was no public comment. There was little discussion by the Planning Commission. Following the discussion, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to forward to the County Board a recommendation of approval of a request as outlined by staff, and the board action is the resolution.
Okay, thank you. Anyone from the public would like to comment on PC 0816? Anyone wishing to comment on PC 0816? And last call for anyone wishing to comment on PC 0816. Seeing and hearing no public comment, I'll close the public comment portion and bring it back to the county board.
Move for approval.
Got a first?
Second.
Second, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen, for all your hard work today and all the extra work on the feedlot.
Thank you.
Everything else for us?
We got the annual feedlot report.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
But this is in relation to the delegation agreement that that was heard last month. But this annual feedlot report is a report of the summary of many feedlot-related tasks that were completed by Mike Schulte and I during the 2015 calendar year. Part of the importance of this is Blue Earth County earns a performance credit from the MPCA for some of these categories, including site inspections and attendance at approved training sessions. In short, this is an annual summary of some of the goals that are presented with the delegation agreement, and pending approval, the document will be signed by Mr. Brendler, the chairman of the board, and will be forwarded to the MPCA to be added to the records of the county.
Okay. Questions, comments? Do I have a motion to accept that report?
So moved.
Got a first and a second. Discussion?
Have there been any changes in the goals that we've had set before us for, for inspections and for, all the scheduling that goes on with that?
No, there haven't been any significant changes. Basically, the overriding goal for inspections from the MPCA remains at 7%, which is right about 26 feedlot inspections of approved sites a year, and our plan is to well exceed that.
That's what I thought. You told me once that it's like double or triple that, isn't it?
Last year we did right about 26%. Yeah, we try to get to each one of our sites every 4 years, so right about the 25-26%.
Okay, any other comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Now, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for all your hard work on this. Appreciate it. We will take 5 and only 5 and we're going to get back to work.
I can't hear.
I have a really good sense of smell, so I empathize. I smell everything, literally.
All right, we will call our Board of Commissioners meeting back to order here. Our first item up is with Craig and Casey. Welcome.
Morning.
Good morning.
Our first item of business is to deal with the removal of benefits for the hearing for County Ditch 28. I just welcome everyone. I hope you've signed the sign-in sheet. If not, please do so before you leave. At this time, we will open it up. Craig.
Okay, first thing on here, we'll add slight agenda change. We want to add, after the comments from the petitioner's attorney, put in Chuck Brandel. He's going to be talking about his letter.
Okay.
And give you some more detail on that for the board. That's the only change to the agenda.
Okay, that's the agenda. Do I have a motion to accept this agenda?
Motion to accept.
Got a first and a second?
Second.
Second, discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
So for the jurisdictional documents, per statute, hearing notices were mailed to landowners on February 29th, 2016, as well as published on the Blue Earth County website.
Okay, thank you, Casey. Purpose of the hearing from the Drainage Authority. Kurt.
Morning, members of the board. My name is Kurt Dieter. The purpose of today's hearing is 103E805 for removal of property. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. It's simply for the petitioner has the right under the statute to request removal of property from the benefited area. This is different than a partial abandonment. We're doing nothing to the ditch. This is simply a request to remove property from the benefited area. And it may be on your agenda, but under the statute, the three things that you should be listening for when you finally need to make a decision. The statute requires the waters from the petitioner's property have been diverted from the drainage system, or the property cannot significantly and regularly use the drainage system. That's significantly and regularly. We changed the statute a couple years to put those language in. Number two, the property is not benefited by the drainage system. Number three, the removing of the property from the drainage system will not prejudice the property owners and property remaining in the system. So the petitioners that petitioned, it's their burden to come forward and explain why they believe that they've met those three items. if there's some, and this is for subsequent, I believe this ditch had an improvement approved a while ago. It will not change that, other than it may be a change order in construction for reasons they may not want a tile to go up into an area that they may be doing a wetland bank or something. But this is for subsequent costs and expenses, not things that you've approved in the past. Unless
Okay.
there's questions from me
Thank you, Kurt.
at the end of the hearing, if you have any, I'll be here, so.
Any questions for Kurt at this point?
Thank
Okay.
you.
We'll move on now then, hear from the petitioner and the petitioner's attorney.
Good morning, Mr. Chairperson and members of the commission. My name is Christopher Johnson, and I'm an attorney representing Ramey International. The reason why I'm here today is because my client is going to be doing a creation of a wetland bank on this property. The wetland bank is going to consist of 3 basins and include breaking up the drain tile, existing drain tile across this property. I have Dan Denaire here, who is a wetland specialist from Bolton and Menk, and Dan can answer your specific questions about the engineering of this of the proposed wetlands. The reason for doing this is because my client has some other property in the Mankato area where he has a wetland issue that he needs to mitigate. So we're going to be creating 3 wetland basins totaling we're going to be taking 61 acres approximately out of production, and we're going to be converting them into wetland credits. These wetlands are permanent. This is not a temporary program that would revert back after a period of, say, 15 years like the CRP programs do. Once the wetlands are created, the wetlands are permanent, and therefore the impact to the system will be permanent as well. And let me explain a little bit about that. What we're doing again is we're breaking up all of the existing drain tile on this property and allowing the hydrology to restore naturally. So as we're breaking up the drain tile, the areas will be seeded and the waters will restore naturally over time. The process takes a period of time where from a wetland credit perspective, the wetland credits are approved and allowed to be brought to market as certain markers are met over time. But the impact to the system will occur once the drain tiles are broken. We understand that there will be some additional portion of the property that won't that currently don't have drain tiles installed, and those will be farmed for the next year or so, and then probably put into a program as well. That area may have a slight impact to your system, and so I believe Chuck Brandel is going to make a recommendation that the amount be reduced accordingly. As we said, excuse me, I have a little bit of a cold. As Mr. Dieter said, the statute says that the 3 markers are that, number 1, we're not impacting the system. By breaking up the tile, we are significantly reducing our impact to the overall system. We're not going to be benefited by the drainage system because, as Mr. Denaire will state and given his presentation, our impacts are going to be, we're trying to not divert the water into your system, we're trying to capture the water and create the wetlands. So we think that marker will be met. And then we're not going to be prejudicing the other neighbors that are part of the system. We're not going to be putting water into the system. So, there isn't a way for this property to somehow suddenly start putting water in again, because in order for it to be tiled in the future, we would have to get permits, and those permits would be denied because of this. Again, the wetlands are permanent. There will be permanent easements stating that the wetlands can never be drained, can never be used for another purpose. Once the wetlands are established, it is established permanently. And I'd like to bring up Dan Denaire from Bolton and Mank to talk a little bit about how these wetlands will be created and what we're going to be doing with them.
Thank you, Christopher.
Good afternoon. My name is Dan Donaire. I'm with Bolton & Mink, a wetland specialist. I'm leading the project on this wetland restoration, working with the Army Corps of Engineers and Bowser, Border Soil Water Resources. Right now we're in the primary stages of the permit application, which takes about 1.5 years. The scoping document has been submitted and approved by Bowser and the LGU. The Corps is still getting comments back to us. They're always lagging behind. So we expect those comments next week. Basically what we have out there, we have 4 basins that have been farmed and tiled for over 20 years, probably further back than that. We're going to break the tiles, restore the hydrology to the basins, and have type 2, type 3 wetlands out there. Depths maybe around 1 foot to 6 inches in open water areas. Native vegetation will be attempted to be established there, but probably not going to happen because of a reed canary grass growing around the area, so that invasive plant will join in. We're working with the agencies to have a traditional wetland bank out there, so it'll be, the purpose will fill the needs of Mr. Ramey and his impact site here in Mankato.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. Any questions for Dan or Christopher at this point?
I have a question. Both of you have said we will. You haven't done these things yet, is that correct?
We are in the process. We've already submitted an application to the technical advisory panel. We've also submitted the same to the Army Corps of Engineers. We are working with them on a monthly basis and following their guidelines. So we've submitted to the county to Mr. Dieter our scoping document and boundaries and all of that. So as the process takes some time to unfold. The reason why we're applying to you now as opposed to waiting is because of the project that's going on with respect to County Ditch 28. This ditch, the new tile system is going across the northern boundary of my client's property. We don't want the county to be hooking in to the drain tile. We're trying to save you guys money, because clearly if we're going to be breaking up drain tile, it wouldn't make sense for the county to expend money hooking into it. So we're trying to be proactive on this because of this project. Normally, I think it's fair to say that a project might wait a little farther into the process, but we wanted to get to you early because of the county road or the County Ditch 28 project, and save the county some money by not having to hook into the current system.
Also, I assume you have, but I just want to clarify it. Have you? Does your plan include capturing surface water, keeping that from running off?
Yes, and Dan can speak to that.
Yeah, we'll be capturing all the surface water. That's part of the project.
Okay, thank you.
Drew?
Oh, yeah, maybe mostly for Dan. These have come up a couple times now since I've been serving on the board the last 6 years, and there's a lot of detail, more than I would have ever imagined, but when those tiles get broke up, the biggest thing that I think about is how is that going to impact the neighbors that are using the land? Because water is water, and it goes where it's going to go.
Right.
And so I just worry, when that starts to fill in, will that then eventually get into the soils, over time, and then seep over hydrologically to the neighbors who are trying to farm? Because I do appreciate conservation efforts, but I'm just wondering if there's any safeguards, any berming or any other drainage tile maybe that might need to be in place in order to ensure that the farmers that are already farming the nearby properties and hydrologically, if you can explain that to us so we understand it.
Yeah. This project is unique from other banking projects that we've done in that to the east, that property is already in a conservation easement. And to the south, we have steep slopes and also an area that it is already a wetland that they have not farmed in ages. And then also obviously to the north and to the west, there's roadways. So it's kind of a contained area that we're restoring. So our worries of having what Mr. Campbell was talking about, any kind of hydrology going into the neighbors' properties and affecting their farming practices are just not going to happen. Additionally, part of the permitting process, the next phase, we do a hydrological model of the site to ensure that we're not flooding out any neighbors. And that's required by both the Board of Soil and Water Resources and the Corps.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, you got one more?
Can I just ask just one for the attorney? Sorry. And so kind of piggybacking on what Will was saying, I'm not sure customarily acting as a board authority, ditch authority, if we can remove it prior to the project, even though it looks like it's a good project. I'm just wondering, anyway, how we do that, because the last one we worked on, 90% of the work was done, I think, except for some berming or something, that I remember. They had already worked on it for years and it was already pretty much done. Is it because they're afraid we might not approve it, and so they want to make sure that that this is going to be in place, so they're not going to have to pay, into the ditch system?
No, the reason for it is because we're being proactive here because of the ditch project. We want to make sure that you're not having to tie into, we want to give the county full notice that we're moving forward with this project, working with the TEP panel on a monthly basis. And obviously this does take time. I think Mr. Brandel is going to speak, and he and I have spoken about this prior to today. And I think that what we would be comfortable with is if the board made a conditional, so in other words, you could conditionally approve this or a portion thereof pending us breaking tile and meeting certain markers, and we would be comfortable with that. But we wanted to come to you as early as we could in this process because of the project.
So we wouldn't put more tile in there and plan to put that into the budget? Something like that? Is that I'm just trying to...
Right.
Kurt? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, yeah, no, don't do that.
Huh? Sorry.
Just hold on one second here, Kurt. Let's finish with these two gentlemen, and then we're going to hear from Chuck, because I think Chuck might clarify some of these questions. We just worked through the process.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, will you forgive me?
Go ahead. You got any other questions for these two guys?
No, that helps.
Right.
I mean, I'm just trying to figure.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you for your reports. So we'll move on. We'll let Chuck talk about his, and then we'll get into this question you're working on, Drew.
Yeah.
Hi, Chuck Brando with INS Group. Maybe a quick update on CD 28, where that project is at. It was approved last fall. The project went out for bid, has been bid, and we had a pre-construction meeting last Friday.
Okay.
Construction is going to start, pending weather conditions, next week. What I guess maybe I would suggest is that the board allows us to work with the landowner on potential tile hookups. Normally, there's a 48-inch tile that's going through this property as part of the improvement. Wow. We have adjusted the alignment to the very north end so it would avoid the wetland basins, but or the potential wetland basins. As part of any project, we hook up any private tile that we find. If the landowner chooses, we could not hook those up at this time, and then allow their process to continue. You could potentially table this or hold it, but allow us to work with them on the drainage project. And then once their final design is in, we could review that. At this point, looking at their preliminary design, we wouldn't recommend that they completely go out of the system, but that their assessment be reduced. looked at some examples for Blue Earth County on different land cover types. And if you go from farmland to grass, there's a reduction in how much flow leaves your site. If you go from grass to a wetland, there's a more reduction. So depending on how their final design works out, just preliminarily looking at it from a flow standpoint, it could reduce the amount of flow by 65%. But the final design is not completed, it's not permitted. I guess I would suggest you wait to approve or deny that once that final design is completed, but allow us to work with these guys on hookups, and we could eliminate all the hookups on that property and adjust to what they need for the design. The contractor did not give us a definite date on when he's going to be putting tile through that property. Looking at the schedule and how things shape up, my guess is it'll probably be June or July of this year when they're going through that property, and we could see where the design is at that point. Okay. And then adjust accordingly so we don't spend money on CD28 that we don't need to.
Sure, that makes sense.
So potentially then, if we can creatively allow for you to work with them, whatever we need to order, it ultimately though, it saves the ditch some expense that it normally would have had for draining that property.
Yeah, we don't have all of the private tile maps for the property, but we have factored in that there are private tile there. The landowners have told us there is, so there are connections that are included in the project. Those could be eliminated. So it could save maybe a couple $1,000s to the project.
Okay. With that, any other questions for Chuck at this point from the board? With that, I think we'll open it up for public comment, and then we'll come back to you, Kurt. Is that all right?
That's fine.
Okay, at this time, we'll open up the public comment on the Ramey petition requesting to be removed from County Ditch 28. Anyone wishing to speak, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Linda Wilmus, and I live in the Mankato area. I just have a question because I'm really slow and I'm not really up on this. If you take 61 acres out of that, and my question is, I know you say that you will crush the tile and everything will be fine, but who is actually responsible for making sure that it works and it's still not going into the ditch? Is it the Army Corps of Engineers, or is it Blue Earth County? Who's responsible for monitoring it? And after years, who's responsible for making sure that it's still doing what it's supposed to be doing and not going into the ditch? I don't know. I'm just asking because I don't know anything about this kind of a...
Good question, Linda. Good question.
I'm sorry, but I just don't understand who's responsible to make sure that it continues to work the way it's proposed to work.
We've got a lot of experts in the room. We'll find one that can answer that question.
It's a good
Kurt,
question.
We're going to let Kurt answer that. All right. Kurt?
Thank you. This is the wetland bank that I've done many of. There's a 5-year monitoring afterwards, and besides that, if they're removed under 401, you can't outlet into the system. So if there'd ever be an outlet that somebody thought they were outletting, Craig, or if it was reported to the drainage authorities. So there'll be good monitoring if and when they would ever have anything removed, and if a tile line got hooked up again by a number of, especially the neighbor, there'd be a number of people reporting if that would happen. So I think it's something to be concerned about, but I'm not concerned that there wouldn't be lots of what happened to that wetland. If it's restored, then all of a sudden it's drained. Somebody knows something happens.
Okay. Thank you, Kurt. Other comments?
Ken Wilmus, and I just want to make sure I understood this right. The county ditch project that's going on right now, you're not trying to get out of paying their portion of that, is that correct?
Well,
you want to withdraw from the wetland, you want to withdraw from that drainage from the county ditch 28. So what you're saying is you're going to pay your fair share for this project right now, but you will be withdrawn from any future projects, from any financial responsibility.
Okay. Do you want to take a shot at that, Christopher? Because that's...
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Do you want to take a shot at that, answering that?
At this point in time, I think I would just accept that as comment.
Okay.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I don't know what that means either. I'm just trying to say is.
Let Kurt, yeah.
I don't know what that
means
either.
But just what the law says.
Yeah.
If the board doesn't,
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, if you don't
Ken,
mind.
you have another question, Ken? Otherwise, I'll.
Yeah, I'm done. I just want
I'll
to
let
know
Kurt come to the podium.
that they're going to be responsible for what's going on now, and understand that they're not going to be responsible for any future
Right.
ditch repairs.
That's what I want I wanted that clarified later too, so thank you, Ken.
And again, so I don't misquote it, 805 says if you remove property, effect of removing property, the property that's been removed is not affected by the drainage system on any later proceeding for the repair or improvements. So it's kind of like a magic point in time. Anything prior to today or whatever point you would ever remove something, that's already done. It's for any subsequent costs.
So to
Now-
answer his question, the repairs that are started now, for us, not on behalf of the
Yeah, I'm not answering
petitioner,
for
you're
them,
answering
whatever
for
their
us.
position.
What's our position?
My position recommending to you would be the statute says it's for subsequent
Okay.
costs.
So they would be responsible for the costs that are going on right now, is that what you're saying?
That would be
That's
my
what I'm
opinion
hearing.
based on the statute.
But anything after the fact, they wouldn't be.
Correct. If you
right.
remove some property and we did a future repair or something out there, they would have theirs reduced by whatever you removes.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Ken?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that they are going to pay their fair share of this project because it is a rather large, very
Right.
expensive project, and they've been participating in the system. And if they're going to leave the system, I'm okay with future stuff, but they need to leave it in good condition
Okay.
and pay for it.
Thank you. Any other
I'll
clarification?
be back if there's another
Thank you, Kurt.
I still have clarification on that, so I'm just pulling the numbers out, so let's.
You want to come up to the, state your name and.
Pat Crowley from Adelia. A question, so I'm just pulling numbers out. So this land, let's say you are assessed 200,000, and you're gonna pay for it over 5, 10, 15 years, whatever, is agreed upon. So if you come in, are you paying that whole full amount right at the beginning, or are you going over subsequent years? And if they're going over subsequent years, and say year 3, you get this whole project done, are those fees waived at that point? I'm concerned because they're trying to meet 3 markers here. One of the markers is not benefited by the system. Totally agree with you. I'm all for Ramey's putting in a wetland project. Totally agree on that. But there's several landowners in this whole 60 parcel project that aren't really benefiting from the system. For example, I own 3 acres, it's zoned residential. That's not benefiting me whatsoever. The family farm is already tiled, already has a main tile through it. We're not going to do any tile. It doesn't benefit us, and I don't care what the engineers say. It does not benefit us. So my concern is, again, if they're going to be waiving the project, are we going to be assessed more because of that? We've already been given a certain dollar amount that we thought it would be. If they waive a 200,000, is that going to be divided among us remaining owners? And if it is, again, that's prejudice part of the system is the 3rd marker. It's not prejudicing the system, but it is prejudicing the landowners of that system. We're going to end up paying more because of that. And those are the concerns we have. There are several people out there that are not going to benefit. I'm really disappointed in this board. They're taking a corporate company, Showers, who's not even in the state. They're 1,000 miles away, and you're letting them dictate this project. It's ridiculous. Why? For the 60-some parcel owners that it's affecting, or not even affecting down the line. I'm sorry, I'm a brand new resident in this area. The family farm just became under part of the kids' ownership. I am not happy with this county board allowing this to go this far.
Okay, thank you for that comment.
So again, are we going to be assessed more?
We'll try to get Kurt to clarify
if the
that a little
waiver
more.
comes through?
We'll try to get Kurt to clean that up a little bit for us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's a good question, but the answer is, again, it's future this project, when it's assessed, has already been approved, so it's preceding any action you take. And if they decide, like they have the right, as any landowner does, to pay it over however long you
Right.
stretch the assessment, 15 years, the answer is no. If they get to the third year, this is my opinion, if you get to the third year and they do get it into a system, that doesn't change anything about their last 12 years of payment.
Okay.
Very clearly it doesn't. I don't want to leave that in a gray area. It's this project that will have nothing to do with that.
Okay.
That's, again, attorneys can have different opinion, but I think the statute's clear on that.
That'll be our stance on it. Okay.
And, well, let me see if there's any more, and then I
Okay.
do want to make a suggestion of where you, because I think the commissioners have hit exactly where you are in this situation.
Thank you, Kurt. Does that help clarify that?
Yep, they're gonna pay their fair share, so our assessment should not change.
Your assessment won't change because of anything they're doing.
Not because of anything they're doing. Your assessment could change because of something else going on.
Yeah, high bid come in or other things, but
Right.
not.
Okay, any other comments? Last call for any other comments on the petition to remove land from County Ditch 28? Seeing and hearing none, I'll close the public portion of the comment period and bring it back to the county board. And Kurt, you had some other comments you want to make?
I think both commissioners hit it on the head. I think it's a two-step. I think the first thing Mr. Johnson and they want is to make sure early on they have the right to work with Mr. Brandel for possible change orders. And that's a legitimate, because we don't want to be putting in tile and hookups that have some adverse effect on them getting into their conservation programs. So I think, this is my opinion to you, would be, and I think that's without even your action, but you may want to take action that directing Mr. Brandel as the project engineer to work with this landowner on possible change orders of not hookups. As far as removing any property, they've been very honest saying they're just in the preliminary getting some permits. You would not remove. Plans can change, things can change. They have the right anytime to come back, but at this point, directing a possible, working with them on change orders, if and when the project's ever completed, they have the right to come back and make their argument what the project did or didn't do. But today, you're not in a position to remove any property because you don't even know what the final plan is yet.
Okay. Thank you, Kurt. Any other questions for Kurt or the petitioner's engineer or attorneys at this point? Would someone like to make a motion for the allowing Chuck to work with, not to
That
approve it?
would be, yeah.
Okay.
A new, right, a new.
Yeah,
That's what you-
this is not removing the property.
No,
This
it's
is
a
a
new
motion
motion.
just to allow Chuck to work with the
I'll second that
petitioners.
motion.
Is that understandable? Is that what?
Yep.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, might I just check with the secretary, make sure she has
Yep.
what she
Jesse,
needs,
could you
since
read
this
it
is
back
not
to
a
us?
resolution that was included in the packet.
Right, so Commissioner Stuenberg moved and Commissioner Campbell seconded the motion to allow landowners
Brandel.
to work with Chuck Brandel and INS Group.
Okay. Is that clear enough?
Yep, thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And we'll deal with the removal of it after the project is built.
And I don't know if you need a motion to table or
Yeah,
We never
good
brought it
question.
up. We never brought it up.
Yeah, we never brought it
We
up.
never
Yeah, we,
moved it.
we actually didn't bring
What
it
should
up.
we
We didn't
do?
bring the
All right.
business, so.
What
That was
should
good,
we-
good
should we-
point.
Should we just leave
Didn't
it?
bring it up yet.
Yeah, I think
Leave it for another day? Yeah, we didn't, okay.
You sure we can do that?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think we would at least
Maybe we
table
had,
it.
yeah, maybe
we haven't
have-
brought it up though. We haven't taken
Yeah.
it from the agenda.
I'm not an expert in this, but I think somewhere in your minutes, so that 3 years from now, you'd
Yep.
want to know, what did we do today? And I think at least tabling it until they get their project
Yep.
plans finalized.
All right.
at least let you
We'll hear
know.
from Pat.
Yeah.
What do you think?
To be cleanest at this juncture, my recommendation would be that if you're so inclined, given the motion by Commissioner Sternberg and seconded by Commissioner Campbell, that I would address it and deny it, given the new motion.
So have a table on the, or get a motion on the table and just vote no?
Correct. Correct.
Or
They
table
can
it?
bring it back in the future. There's nothing prohibiting them from bringing it back in the future.
That'd make it very clear.
That then
what
it's
we
very
did.
clear where you're going. You're saying no to removing it, or you're saying yes to working in that area.
Okay, could I get a motion to approve the removal of the property?
No. to deny the removal.
Well, we could vote no, but
No,
or
we have to
deny.
we have to bring up a motion as it was written, which is to approve the removal.
Right. So, but we'd vote no.
Right, I'll bring up the motion to approve removal of the identified land, 61 acres from the ditch system 28.
Will you just
Do you have a second?
Okay, thought we just said a table.
We gotta get a second to table it.
I'll table.
Got a second.
And
Now,
I'll
we can either
table
vote,
it.
we can either vote no and turn it down,
Okay.
or table it. Is there two options?
And I'll move to table.
Move to table?
No, that's only,
Okay, it's been seconded, so it's on
We
the
can
table.
remove it from the table anytime we want to.
Yep, so there we go, it's tabled. Hasn't been denied, but it's tabled.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carries. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Yep, thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
All right, we got several other items to handle here today yet, so let's keep on going. JD 9, petition for improvement, tab 12.
Okay. We have a new petition for JD9, just a little bit of background. We already have a petition to improve the main on this particular system. This is a second petition for improvement of branches 1 and 3 and some of the other laterals in conjunction with lateral 3. This will be in addition to the other improvement here. We've already had the preliminary hearing on the improvement for the main. So today what we're asking is to appoint an engineer, Chuck Brandel of INS, to prepare a preliminary survey report in accordance with Minnesota Statute 103E.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept that petition?
So moved.
Second.
Second, any other discussion? All in
So
favor?
this is you're just adding some more
Yep.
to the already.
A couple months ago, we had a big hearing on
Right.
9, and they're just gonna add a lateral to it.
Technically, this is a separate improvement proceeding. If the board could choose, depending on what happens at the preliminary hearing for this, to combine the two. Especially if it's apparent that it's gonna save the landowners costs and money, that might be something recommended. But we'll hear more about that at the preliminary hearing for this.
Preliminary. Didn't this come up a little bit for discussion at the original?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, they tried to get on board with the other
Right, it was a
petition,
little
they
late.
didn't want us, so they,
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Okay.
56, redetermination of benefits.
Yes, we had landowner meetings who wanted to redetermine County Ditch 56. Well, we had some issues trying to get viewers, or actually a lead viewer, to agree. We finally found somebody, and he put together a crew. So we're looking for the board to order a redetermination benefits on County Ditch 56. And the action requested today is I'm requesting the order to appoint the following viewers: Tom Mahoney, Dan Ruby, Gary Ewert, and Ron Winquist as the alternate/consultant.
I'd make that motion.
Second.
Discussion? Do we know which one will be the lead then?
Probably Dan.
Dan, okay.
Yeah. Would be, he is the one who has all the equipment.
Okay.
That's one of the things.
Yeah, it's southwest of Lake Crystal.
Okay, any other discussion?
Question, when was the last time this had been redetermined?
When it was built in 1920.
So it's probably due.
Oh, way overdue.
It's overdue.
Way overdue.
It's only 97 years.
Yeah.
Oh, Kurt, got a comment?
I don't have the packet, so the order may be in the packet, but based on a Boise Sioux County case, when you order a redetermination, and maybe it's in there, I apologize. It sounds like it is. You have to make a specific finding that land values have changed or the benefited area. Looks like it's in there, so that,
Okay.
I just wanted to
Thank
make
you,
sure
Kurt.
so you didn't get challenged in the future.
Thank you. Okay, I got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries.
Okay.
Item 14.
And 14, or 17? JD 17?
17.
Yeah,
Item-
this is a ditch that landowners wanted to redetermination of benefits. We kind of appointed some viewers. The viewers did not make it out there. It's just a very small system. The County Ditch 56 wraps around it. So what we're gonna do is, requesting today is reappoint the viewers, the same viewers, because they're gonna be looking at this land anyway as part of County Ditch 56. It only makes sense. It would save the JD 17 landowners money by having it as, doing in conjunction with County Ditch 56. So, basically the same thing. I don't know if maybe should I read the findings in order? Is that what you're recommending then?
Well, just so we have a record that you found that the land values have changed or the benefited area has changed, just
Yeah.
so we never get challenged that you
Yeah.
didn't have a jurisdiction to order the review.
Yeah, and that was actually done earlier when we originally appointed
This was
the...
yeah, 2 years ago almost, it was.
Or a
2
year,
years ago.
year ago, yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
motion.
yeah, 14, January
Accept
14.
that?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Got a second? Any discussion? All in favor of changing the viewers, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Any other business from the
Nope,
Ditch Authority?
that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You cleared out a room, we appreciate it. Let's just take 5. All right, we'll call the Blue Earth County Board back to order. And we got Phil and Jay. Nice to see you, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Morning.
Beautiful day out there.
In the neighborhood.
It's all about to change, they say.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, big snowstorm coming in.
Tomorrow night, isn't it?
It's tomorrow, I think
Yep.
after 10, Jay was saying.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, I appreciate your time today. I just have some fairly quick action items. And in the report, you'll see the first section is on the South Central Community-Based Initiative. Our Eide Bailey contract is for an outside evaluation of reporting process between our initiative and Blue Earth County as a fiscal host. We have a $20,000 cap on this contract, but we have $5,000 increments because we have to see what they can do each $5,000 along the way, so not to exceed 20. Public health, we have a pretty straightforward contract with Minnesota State University Moorhead for their nursing program to accommodate students who are pursuing their bachelor's degree for a clinical site. This is a 5-year agreement. And the final section has 2 pieces to it. The first of those being the Human Services fee policy. We have procedures and rates that we set within the department that are reviewed annually. This year there were procedural and word changes and some fees updated according to the poverty guidelines and some of the changes based on insurance and MA funding. The effective date of our fee policy would be March 1st. And finally, there's an appointment from Commissioner Brunder's district, District 5, Meredith Teets, to join the Social Service Task Force. So those are the action items I have for today.
Thank you, Phil. Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Got a first and a second. Discussion. Drew?
I've got some. I don't have much to say about all of them except for one of the administrative items. But I saw that on there late yesterday and remembered some of the other fees that the county had brought before us. I just had some concerns because I didn't understand what was encompassing, the globalness of this policy change, because that's what we are as a policy board, really. And so, number one, I wish I could have had more information, about it. But Bob did get it. You must have got it to Bob, and Bob sent it to me.
Yep.
And so I did review some of it, and you're right, there are some minor changes. Some fees didn't change much, if at all, but there were some that had huge changes, on the policy. It went from one of them is a medication management eval number 99205, and other ones 90853. Just looking at different ones, some went up, $30, $50, and even $65, and so I'm just wondering. I'm just concerned about it. One of them, it was $175 existing, and now it's going to be $240.
Right.
And I know, is it something that was overlooked over the years, or Just wondering if...
No, I wouldn't characterize it that way. We have bulletins. There's a bunch of different pieces that go into the fee policy. Bulletins that come up from the state, and then MA guidelines and insurance companies that set their rate. And so what we try to do is maximize those third-party insurance without penalizing individual payers. So in other words, what you want to do is try to maximize what an insurance company will pay you, so
Right.
up to the $240.
Business decision.
Right,
Yeah.
and then also try to do our sliding fee scale so that as somebody presents their income, that depending on how they hit on that, that they aren't going to be paying more than they would if they didn't have insurance. And so there's kind of a difficult marrying of those two things together. With more people becoming insured, which is good news for us, that we can actually go and try to maximize some of those rates. If you do compare some of our standard rates to the private sector, you'll see that we're quite low. So the base is always pretty low from what we compare ourselves to a Mayo Clinic or something like that, rightly so. But then these other two factors are part of that. Usually they're always based on some outside party setting where that high cap is.
But it's just hard to imagine it going from 175 on a fee to 240 within one moment. And it's
Sure.
just hard for me to adjust to that, you know,
Right.
to see that big of a change in a fee structure.
Right.
It just kind of makes me wonder, like, how
Right.
did this happen so fast?
And maybe if you can send me that, I did not believe that there was such a big change in any one component, so I might have to look
You
at that.
penciled it in even what the changes were right on there. Somebody didn't read, and there's a lot of them went up.
I meant that specific example of going from this to that. I didn't think there were any that were that marked, but
Yeah, there are.
I would. So if you could tell me what those are, I'd have to look into it because it's a 30-page document of fees, and so it's
Yeah,
hard.
it's pretty
to
straightforward though. I went through it. I mean, I just read through it.
Oh,
and
I'm
there's-
just saying I don't have those in my head. Is all I'm
Oh,
saying.
oh, yeah.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Well, I know,
Yes.
and I don't want to sound overly critical because I know you guys have a lot to deal with, Phil.
Sure.
And I don't want to sound that way. I just wish that when there's a major change in fee structures that there was a little more information, maybe just a little spreadsheet, and to help me, understand it. Because if I'm supposed to approve it as a board member, it's difficult.
Right.
If I think about it, what will this have an impact then on some of the people that are being served, or won't it have any impact? And this is just simply a business decision.
Right.
To make sure that we're trying to keep up with the Joneses, you know what I mean, or
Right,
whatever you want to call it.
absolutely.
But because, does that make sense? I mean, do you
Well,
understand
sure,
where I'm coming
and to
from?
you, Commissioner, and all of the board, I'm willing to give you whatever information you need. I will say that there's 8 units out of
I
our
know.
9 units
I know.
that feed into this fee policy, so that's what I'm saying is how much detail you would want. I'm more than willing to get that to you or to the board, however you like it. But I do know there's some difference of opinion about how much detail you want, and we just want to accommodate that from a departmental standpoint. So whatever you need, and like I say, if you can be specific, I think those are easier to answer
Well-
than generalities, so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm being general. I think I'm being pretty specific
No,
now.
I would like your specific one so I can look into it. Maybe I'm not.
Oh, I
being clear.
could give you a list
Yeah.
of them. There's at least 6 or 7 that have
Sure.
huge jumps, according to what I looked at in the document.
Okay.
Unless I'm reading it wrong.
I would want to get your, response on each and every one of those for sure.
Okay,
Yep.
because I just don't know what the impact of that is on that individual. Let's say that they're just right at that line, then do
Right.
they all of a sudden have a bigger bill? Because I'll tell you, if they are on Medicaid, and if they are on receiving services or Social Security benefits, raising a fee this much of it even makes them pay $20 more each time they come in for a little thing, a little adjustment or a little counseling session or something. Can really affect, and you know that. I mean, I don't know. So I don't know if even.
Well, it's hard because some answers, like I can give you, this is a general answer. I say that's what's hard, but a general answer is medical assistance. You cannot charge anything over above what medical assistance will pay. So they pay nothing unless they're on a sliding fee.
Okay.
So none of that would change
So it
based
could
on
be a
these
small
rates.
percentage changing if they pay something.
They shouldn't have to pay anything other than, whatever the percentage would be that if they have a copay, but most, if folks are 100% MA, we have to take that in full. So no matter
Right.
where we set our rates, that's how it gets billed out. And so that's why it's really impossible to know until you know the individual, a specific answer to how it might hit different individuals, because the right answer is it will hit different people differently.
It will.
That's true, yes.
Yeah.
That's how it's set up.
Well, I hope you forgive me, but I'm probably gonna vote no on this.
Sure.
Portion of it, or that means I have to vote no against all four of them if we're gonna do them all at once.
Sure.
Because I just think it warrants looking at it a little bit deeper. I just think it warrants.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Campbell, I just might also add that, you have some concern about people on Social Security. Most of those folks would be on Medicare, which is similar to medical assistance, where there would be no copay for the individual, that we, as an organization, have to take full payment from Medicare.
Yeah.
And so that cost that you're concerned about won't extend to the individual.
I don't know. Then the other thing that concerns me is that, let's just say that there's a change in their money. I know that that's kept track of by the state of Minnesota. What benefits they've received, let's say they've been on Medicaid for 3 years or something. And if this fee structure changes this much, and all of a sudden they have to pay back 3 times or 2 times what they might have thought they had to pay back because of the fee structure change, I just think it warrants more discussion. That's just what because then we go after them and ask for them to pay it back according to their newly found income. And so there are ramifications here that I believe go deeper than just a simple approval of a fee structure. I'm sorry.
Okay, any other questions or comments? I had a motion on the floor, Jesse?
Mhm.
Yes. Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The informational discussion items included in the packet. The first of those is an update on our public assistance fraud investigation program that the board's aware of. We're proud of the progress that continues in this particular area. We had 82 referrals to our investigator, who's provided to us directly through the Sheriff's Department. The program savings amounts were $32,000, overpayments of $137,000, almost $138,000, 21 disqualifications based on eligibility rules, and then there's also the criminal part that gets to Pat's county attorney's office, and the criminal cases we referred were 13. 9 of those concluded by criminal convictions, 3 are pending, and 1 was declined. The additional recovery of those efforts were $41,624. Add them all up at the bottom of the page, $211,729 by that program of recoveries.
Sounds great.
That's real good. I just have one question with, when like the 21 disqualification waivers, and then it says, the results of the client being disqualified from some public assistance program for a certain amount of time. How, do you get a revolving door with some people, or how do?
We do. I think once they're identified, I mean, obviously what we're trying to do is assume that most folks, what they're telling us is accurate. If there's cause for concern based on inconsistent information, that's when Ginger would become involved and do more with those cases. Yeah, I think your question, Commissioner, is do sometimes those cases become known to us? Yes, I think sometimes those people
and
are
like you said, the guy does it, person repeats, does it again and again.
Right. Very pleased, though, one of our things when we crossed over from a human service mission to a law enforcement mission, we wanted to make sure that we didn't change that assumption that people are trying to be honest and forthright, and they have been. Most all the times, even if Ginger is involved, she's able to ask some direct questions, and I think we're ending up with some honest mistakes or wrong answers that were honest, wrong answers, and we're able to quickly, resolve those. Even though they might become disqualified, there wasn't that sinister element to it. But then there are some folks that are trying to fraud the system, and that's a whole nother level, and I think that's a smaller group of people. A lot of money can flush through those small group of people. So.
Okay, thank you.
The next 2 slides I'm going to do very briefly. I think they're very straightforward. You'll see the caseload increase from 7,000 cases up about 600 cases from 2014 to 15 in financial assistance. And really the next slide is very similar. It's just the trend line pulling out just healthcare programs. I do have one other comment on that. I was, in my role as MACSA president this year, I did testify to the MNsure board, and one of the things I talked about is Minnesota. I'm hoping most all of you knew that we're under 4% uninsured rate, which is a great outcome of this effort. That is the good news. When we hand that effort down to our workers, which I know the board is acutely familiar with, there is a big disconnect, and we've continued to struggle with our functionality with what they now refer to as METS, which is the program that administers MNsure for us. So there's a disconnect there, and then there's an equal disconnect when we try to then interface with the people we're serving. And so there's a lot of confusion, the people not sure if they're insured at a given time. The system does sometimes work well, and then sometimes it really doesn't work well at all in that handoff, either to our workers' efforts and they're stuck or can't do what they need to do as part of their jobs. And then even more difficult to our core mission is getting people straight answers when they have a question about their case, their status. Those problems continue. And so we've made those known. I've made those known to the MNsure board myself and had the opportunity to do that. The board was very agreeable, saying they're fully aware of that. They are trying to tip some of the attention from some of the more private programs to the public programs, and so hopefully we'll be able to just keep chipping away at the problem and try to make our realities known, because there is some very good news about our uninsured rate. That's something we're all certainly supportive of, but there's some reality checks when we get into the trenches. My final item is just strictly good news. There's no bad news to this at all. I just included the article that's out on our website and was published, and it just highlights March being Brain Injury Awareness Month, and it also spotlights Jay Walters, who's sitting right next to me, as one of the folks that is just a great advocate for us in our mission, but also regarding brain injury. And so I just wanted to recognize Jay and recognize Brain Injury Month.
And thank you.
That's all I have.
Thank you,
Great
Jay.
job.
In fact, when you said the person next to you, yeah, we all knew who he was. Sometimes we wonder who you were. See, they said that. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thanks for your service, Jay. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now, Chair and Commissioners, if I could give a report and then a statement after the report, if that's okay, that's all time.
You're
Do we
fine.
have enough
You're
time?
fine.
Doing fine.
Yep.
So,
We always have time for you, Jay.
the Human Service Advisory Committee met on March 10th. We had Christina Ennerly, Crisis Treatment Director for the Crisis Center, was there. She said they provide support for adults with urgent mental health needs. Some highlights are they do a complete crisis assessment given to all consumers, short-term problem solving, and counseling and stabilization. Under social services, Kyle, the shelter director at the Salvation Army, gave a detailed information of what services are provided to the public at the Mankato Salvation Army. Kyle brought clients along with him who have experienced homelessness to provide insight into what it's like being homeless. A Facebook post will be created to advertise a collection of new toys for the visitation room at the government center. Under mental health, Jill Rademacher was hired as a new behavioral health case manager and intake worker, and also Brian Sager was hired as a mental health case manager. The behavioral health unit at the Mankato Clinic will be closed for 3 weeks starting yesterday in order to complete a remodel project. The annual Mental Health Awareness Walk, sponsored by NAMI, will take place on May
21st at 1 p.m. starting at Great Lutheran Church. That's a report, Commissioners, and if I can make a little brief statement.
Sure.
I am humbled and honored by this as I deal with a similar situation as all those that deal with human services issues daily. For the past 22 years, I've learned to adapt and adjust to various situations. I give credit to Phil and Angie, who younger brother, who's you know ages, for listening to my comments, and to the Human Service Secretary, Noel Brenner, as we work together on various projects. I respect all commissioners and especially Administrator Bob Mayer, who, when I started the Human Services Committee, he was the leader. He was the chair of the Human Service. Thank you, Bob. Another major issue for disabled people that I know it's been covered is transportation. And another important item I have is to thank all the military. They sacrificed their freedom to protect this country. I would not be able to do this unless the freedom we got. And I also thank my family and friends for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you, Jay.
Very nice words, Jay. Thank you for that.
Thank
Thank
you
you for
very
all your
much.
hard work too and your service. We do appreciate it. And you keep Phil in line, all right?
I'm here for one reason, to inform you guys and to keep filling.
That's why you gotta keep coming, Jay.
Not necessarily in that order neither, I would imagine. So,
Thank you.
thank you, gentlemen. Have a good day.
Thanks,
Thank you
Phil.
very much.
Very nice. All right, we got to go back and finish up a couple administrative items.
Mr.
I'm
Chair
down
and
to 3-2
Commissioners,
liquor
item number
license.
4 in your packet is the liquor licenses. So staff are recommending approval of the 4 licenses listed in your packet.
Move for approval.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 5 in your packet is a request to issue a permit for a on-site pull tab gambling at the Minneopa Golf Club. Lake Washington Improvement Association is requesting to have this premises application approved by the county board, and staff are recommending that approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Financial status.
Mr. Chair, this is the financial status report for the end of February. So we're just 2 months into our fiscal year. Total revenues are exceeding last year's by about 17%. We are a little under budget, which is typical at this time of the year, as the board is aware in terms of our local tax levy collections. On the expenditure side, expenses are down about 8% compared to last year. Some of that's tied to some of the money that we transferred to the Public Works Department for the right-of-way acquisition for County Road 12. That was done right away in January of last year, and so you'll see in that other financing uses line that we're quite a bit different. So you take that out of there and our expenses are pretty consistent with where they were last year at this time. In terms of our fund balance, we continue to be in that strong financial position with a grand total of just over $100 million in fund balance. Again, our available funds up at the top of the page is down to $31.5 million, which I think is consistent with the board's direction in some of our investments that we have made in certain areas. So again, things look very stable and as planned.
Okay. Any questions or comments on the financial report?
Looks all right.
Okay. Good job. Any other business then to come before the board?
That's all we have for today, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we'll be recessing to
Madison Lane.
Trailblazer.
Yeah, the Trailblazer in Madison Lake.
Yeah.
Got a motion to recess?
So moved.
Second.
Got a first and a second. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned.
Thanks for coming, Pat.